Hi everyone! Everyone's doing this Halloween recommendation videos at this time of year, but I absolutely love Halloween, so I thought I would do that as well, and hopefully you will find a couple of books that you've never heard of before in my video. These are not scary books, they are more creepy, dark stories which will just transport you in a different world and you'll forget about everything else. So they're very atmospheric, perfect for Halloween, kind of gothic and dark, so I think that is perfect for Halloween. So I have 10 books to talk about today, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail for every one of them because my video otherwise would be very long and I don't want that to happen. The first book that I want to talk about is one of my favorite books of all time, and that is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. This book is about this boy called Nobody Owens whose parents got killed, and now he is raised in a graveyard by different creatures. This is such a good book, and it has some illustrations, black and white. It is so atmospheric. It is a middle grade book, but I think an adult person will love it as well, like I did. I read it 3 times and planning to reread it at some point again because it is just absolutely wonderful and good. The second book is another book by Neil Gaiman, which is called Coraline. In this book, Coraline and her parents are moving to a new house and she goes to explore the house, and she finds a door which is locked. One day she unlocks the door and finds a secret passage to a different house, different room, which is just as her own. But everything is different in this house. So there's another mother and another father, and they want her to stay with them and they want to change her. Everything is much creepier there. And also it includes a mysterious black cat. I absolutely love that story. I listened to it several times. It is again so atmospheric and good, and I love it so much. Number 3 is Marina by Carlos Ruiz-Zafón. It is set in Barcelona and it is the author's favorite book of himself, of the ones that he wrote. It is about this 15-year-old boy who suddenly vanishes for 7 days and no one knows where he's gone to, and then one day he returns and tells everyone this story in which he meets this strange girl Marina, and there are some weird things happening to them, including some ghosts and other things. One day they are transported in a forgotten post-war Barcelona and reveal dark secrets. It is so beautiful and dark again. It is creepy at some points, but not too scary. Number 4, The 13th Tale by Diana Setterfield. The main character receives an invitation to write a biography of a famous female author who is known for not telling the truth. So she tells different things about her life, but then now she is ready to tell the truth. And our main character accepts the invitation and goes to her gothic kind of house. The story that the author is telling is very weird. It includes 2 twin girls and their childhood, and some things just shocked me. It is a very unpredictable book. I don't think there's any way you can predict what's going to happen and what actually happened. It is a very dark book and very atmospheric, and I think it is perfect for Halloween. Number 5 is the book that I'm currently reading, so I haven't finished it yet, but I'm very close to finishing it, and it is Tinder by Sally Gardner. But first of all, the cover is really creepy, isn't it? And there are some creepy pictures throughout the whole book as well, so very atmospheric, and it just transports you into this world and you forget about everything else. It is like a historical fiction set in the 17th century, and it's basically feels like it's a dark fairy tale, dark gothic fairy tale. I'm just going to read you what this book is about because there's no way I could describe it. Wounded in battle, Otto Hunderbis defies death and finds himself on a journey to a realm of dark magic and mystery. He meets Sapphire, brave of heart and pure of spirit, and learns the powers of the tinderbox and the secrets of the wolves. Sally Gardner's Tinder is an exquisite tale of cruelty and great beauty. Honestly, whilst reading it in the evening sometimes when it's dark and everything, that creeps me out a bit, but it's not too scary, so it's fine. The next book that I want to talk about is the one that I've never heard anyone talk about, but I actually really enjoyed it. And it is Gingerbread by Robert Dinsdale. It is set in Belarus. I've never read a book set in that country before, ever. And what I found interesting, that's beside the point by the way, that some things are very, very similar to how they are in Russia, so it felt very close to me. This story is about a boy whose mom dies, and now he lives with his grandfather, and he gives a promise to his mom to protect his grandfather whatever happens. His grandfather tells weird magical stories, and one day they seem to be true. It is mostly set in the forest, so that adds a lot more to the atmosphere of the book. I've never read anything like it before. It is a bit depressing, especially towards the end, but still it is a good book, and I still sometimes think about it because it is a powerful story and a really, really good one. The next book, I think everyone has heard of this book, but I think it's worth mentioning it anyway, and it is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I personally didn't love this book, but I found it interesting anyway, and again it has some creepy pictures, a bit similar to Tinder, I would say they are. This book is about a boy named Connor who dreams of a scary monster, and one day the monster comes, but he's not the monster from his nightmares. He's different. He's something ancient and something wild. It is, I would say, a very, very depressing book. It's not a very light-hearted read. It is very dark and it is kind of creepy and depressing, but there is something about this book that I think is perfect for Halloween. Now I'm going to recommend you 3 classic books. Number 8 is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is such a beautifully written book. I remember being really, really surprised and just mesmerized by reading this book because it was so... The descriptions, I usually mind a lot of descriptions, but in this book they were so beautiful. I didn't mind anything. I was just enjoying every single line in that book. But it is basically about this young man who trades his soul for an eternal beauty and youth. Book number 9 is actually one of the Sherlock Holmes novels, and it is called The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and it is my favorite novel or story about Sherlock Holmes. In this book there is a legend about this devil beast creature that haunts the moors around Baskervilles' family's home, and it is said that you shouldn't go outside when it's dark. Now the most recent Baskerville, Sir Charles Baskerville, is found dead, and next to him they see the footprints of a giant hound. And now another Baskerville is scared that the same thing is going to happen to him, and so Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes are going to investigate this case. It is very, very gothic. It is set in a house, and everything about it is just gothic and Halloween-y type thing, but not scary. Well, at some points it was really scary to me, but it wasn't overly scary, so I think everyone will be able to read it, even the people who never read scary books. Like, I never read scary books, so this was perfect. I loved it so much. And number 10 is Dracula by Bram Stoker. I think everyone knows what this book is about. A typical classic vampire story. I read it several years ago and I really, really liked it. Just recommend it if you are interested in the classical vampire stories. So these are all of my Halloween-y atmosphere type books. So hopefully you find the video helpful. Let me know if you've read any of these books, and if you're planning to read them, or if you have any books in mind that are similar to the books that I mentioned, please leave them in the comments down below. I would love to check them out. Thank you for watching. Bye.